Okay.
Um, can I ask you how meeting with Mandela, meeting him and working with him, so to speak, how did that affect your life in general? That's a broad question, but
When I meet him for the first time as a prisoner,
yeah.
you know, I didn't know the name Nelson Mandela at all when I started work on Robben Island. I didn't know much about apartheid at all. I only started to realize there when I count, after 3 months I work in a census office, we count 55,000 birthday cards for Mandela that year. Then I realized he must be something special. Somebody, and then I found out South Africans didn't know much about him. There was only 12 birthday cards from South Africa. All the birthday cards was from all over the world. Then I asked the sergeant that, and he explained to me, he said, Brand, if anybody dared in South Africa to write a card of a letter to Mandela, that person should have been identified. He should have been arrested, 90 days solitary confinement, electrical shock, maybe tortured, maybe killed, maybe disappeared. That's the first thing I know about that. Then I do my research. Who is Nelson Mandela?
Yeah.
Then I found out when he was sentenced, everything. Till I take him one day for a visit, and I see what a humble person he was to me. That morning when I opened his cell, he was busy washing the floors. And I tell him about the visit. He said, Mr. Brandt, he looked up now to my name tag and he said, oh, Mr. Brandt, just give me a few minutes that I can just change my prison uniform. I see the old man change the prison uniform. After that, he reported me he's ready for his visit. I immediately put him a leg irons because to take him to the visiting center was a distance from the prison. And that was the first time we talked with each other. He asked me after a while, Mr. Brandt, where are you come from? You put a leg iron smooth around my ankles, you lift up the chains for me, and you treat me with respect. And I look at him and I said, Mandela, I grew up on a farm, and my father said I must respect elderly people. You know, that was our first words.
How long did it take to develop a friendship with him? Was there any sort of immediate kinship or chemistry between you two to develop such a strong friendship?
That friendship, you can say, develop after 3 months working on Robben Island. That is where that visit, I take him to the visit room, where I smuggled a baby for him, where I could see the old man become emotional when he touched a grandchild. I could have not believed that. And that secret was between the two of us for nearly 20 years till he became the president of our country.
What is the one thing or one of the top things you learned from him since he was such a great man that you learned personally?
What I personally learned from him was a disciplined person. He was a person who treated people with respect and humanity. He was a person who go the extra mile to help people around him. He would rather done himself short to make people happy around him. That I learned from him. And he said, Mr. Brandt, the more you receive in life and you can spend it on people, like authoring schools of homes and places like that, the more you respect for good life.
How many years were you guarding him?
I was guarding him for 4.5 years on Robben Island and then another 6 years on Portsmouth Prison. In total, you can say nearly 12 years I was.
And how old was he when you began being his guard?
When I started work on Robben Island, he was 60 years old. I was 18. I became 19 in that year on Robben Island.
You were young and I'm sure very impressed eventually. How did you serve in his government afterwards? What position did you have?
After he left, after Mandela was released and he became the president, he also gave me a job offer in Parliament in his office. And later I complained about him after 2 weeks that I can't work in this office. There's nothing for me to do. I keep other people out of their job. I drink coffee the whole day. He must give me something to keep
like
me busy. Then he gave me a job in the Constitutional Assembly, where I worked directly under Cyril Ramaphosa, which was my boss. So I was in charge of the document center where we formed the drafting of the new constitution.
And you were pleased with that work. And how do you feel Mandela ultimately changed South Africa? What do you think his biggest impact was, aside from apartheid?
His biggest impact in South Africa to walk out of prison with reconciliation in his heart. And he was a person who tried to bring people together with sports, music and everything in South Africa. We reached out to people, you know. There was times when there should have been bloodshed in our country. But he immediately stopped that immediately and he could have bring peace in our country. And he bring people together. If I look today back and I said the first World Cup 1995, Mandela bring black and white together with the sports, rugby, when we won the World Cup. Everybody celebrating. Now 2 weeks ago we have the World Cup again. And if you walk in a waterfront in some places in Cape Town, all over where you walk, people were sitting black and white in restaurants. They're screaming together for the television, celebrate together. And that same type of attitude I've seen last night with the Spurs when they were playing basketball game. I could have seen that attitude of that people celebrating together, play together in one sport. That gives me hope that there can become changes in the world and bring people together and like.
So an amazing change and an amazing man.
That's correct. He was, like I met him as a prisoner, was a humble, down-to-earth person.
Yeah.
He was that same person when he's become the president. He never changed. When he retired, was still the same person. Recognized people around him, acknowledged people, and reached out to people. He was the same person.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.